Welcome to Mystery of the Soul. I'm your co-host Leo, a psychic medium, a Reiki master, an EFT tapping practitioner, and a shaman. I'm joined by my good friend Julia, a doctor of physical therapy, yoga instructor, and Reiki master. Our podcast explores the depth of the soul, the spiritual, and the supernatural.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Mystery of the Soul. I'm Julia, and I'm joined with Leo.
Hi, guys.
And tonight we are super excited. We have two mindful girls, Lisa and Ava, here with us. And Lisa, if you'd like to tell everyone a little bit more about yourselves, you can start, and then Ava, you can kind of chime in.
Sure. So my name is Lisa Casillo, and I work out in the Oxford Public Schools, and I am a special in the public schools, and I'm yoga and mindfulness. And I had the opportunity about 9 years ago. My principal gave me the opportunity to be a special. Just like art and gym and music, the students come to me for about 45 minutes once a week. And we have a class where students are introduced to different breathing techniques. They also are introduced to like a pose of the week and the theme. So we didn't really know. We piloted it 9 years ago. And initially I was just part-time at the school. And then over the years it evolved to a full-time position, and then into grades up to 5 now, K through 5th grade. So I was just at the right timing, and he believed in mindfulness, and he thought that that would be a great opportunity. So we tried it out, and that's how I started in the schools. So it was kind of really neat. It just kind of fell into place for me. So I was just really lucky and fortunate. And we do all sorts of things in class. We do really a lot of hands-on learning. We talk about and learn about the brain and the different parts of the brain, emotional regulation, breathing techniques. The kids love to make projects and crafts. So we do a lot of glitter jars and talking sticks, breathing sticks. So, and they all make a journal with me. So it's evolved over the years. In the beginning, it was a little difficult to start off to make it what it is now. But I have a lot of different curriculums that I use. So that's a little bit about how I started. So I don't know if anyone has any questions with that.
Well, I think let's, since we have you together, two mindful girls, we heard a little bit from you, Lisa. Ava, if you want to just tell us a little bit about you guys, or about yourself rather, and your journey, and then we'll kind of get to talking about how two mindful girls came together.
Sure. Yeah, so I was in college during COVID, and we got sent home, and she was still doing her classes on the computer. So every day my mom would go on and have all her yoga props in the living room, and our dog would be out there, and she'd have all this stuff out, and parents on Zoom and kids on Zoom, and she would do her class. And I started doing it with her. And so she said, why don't you get certified if you like doing it? And I had done like a weekend long training with a yoga school that's in New York. And during COVID, she couldn't do her normal classes in preschools and in-person training. So she launched a 95-hour training, and that gets you certified in children's yoga. So we all did that on Zoom. We met almost every day. I was like the pilot group for that program. We were the first ones to do it. And we met on Zoom every day and did all the teaching hours. I learned all the mindfulness, how to do it in schools, all this different stuff. And then once I graduated from that program, the owner of it hired me to teach kids classes online for her. And I also worked with her to make lesson plans that are on her website. So I made a yoga games lesson plan, and I made a growth mindset lesson plan that are sold on the website. And I had just continued to work with her for about, I'd say 2 years. I worked for her, and I did that. And I also did her social media, and I kind of helped with the other 95-hour yoga trainings that she did. Um, and then after I graduated, I did a master's program in social emotional learning. And there's really not that many that exist. It's one of the few right now. And I don't think that program has been around for many years either. So I was probably one of the first to do that program.
I am loving this.
I know.
Yeah, no, I am absolutely loving it. Um, so Lisa, can you tell us a little bit about like what started your journey with yoga?
Let's see. I think it was maybe around 2014, 15. I just started taking adult classes,
Yeah.
and I didn't really know much about it, but I started going, and I kind of would go in the back, and, I was just learning about it, and I just kept going and going, and I just really enjoyed it. And I started to try different places, and I liked one studio that I ended up going to a lot. It was a heated yoga studio, and I just really liked how I felt when I left. Like I just felt really good every time I left. So I just kept trying out places and just learning more about it. But I also noticed an article, I think it was in Time magazine, and it was about California. And in the California schools, they were starting to use mindfulness in the classrooms and helping with behavior or trauma informed students. And they were trying to really get research and learn about how is it affecting the students. And so that came out, I think, around 2014, because shortly after that is when I did the Mindfulness for Schools program in their curriculum. And at that time, not a lot of people had heard of it or what I was like learning about. So when I went into the schools and I had that opportunity, that was like 9 years ago, there wasn't a lot around in schools out here at that time. So that's where I just kind of like looked at what was happening in different places and what was working. I thought that was really interesting. So I decided to participate in their program. And I met people from all over the country, everywhere. And it was interesting because of COVID, how much transition to online learning so quickly. So there was a lot of opportunity that wasn't there before. So I did that class, and then I still actually use a lot of their material, their journals for students, their lesson plans. So that's how I started to learn about children's yoga at the same time when I was doing yoga. So I just happened to read this article, and it really fascinated me about how they were doing this and what they were seeing with the results of different students participating. So I don't know, at the time, I think a lot of people weren't sure what I was doing. I don't know if they thought I was a little odd with the classes I was. So, it was hard to start the program because I didn't have a lot of people to go to help me with it. So when I made the layout of the class, I still do the same exact thing that I started with, but I did a format so that the kids knew the same consistent thing every single time they came in. And my room doesn't have furniture, very little furniture, because we have little carpet squares. And I was also fortunate enough that the school, they purchased yoga blocks and children-sized mats. So I turned the room over to a yoga classroom every so many weeks so they can experience that as well. And they take their shoes off. And so we have a full 45-minute class.
What?
So, yeah, so it just kind of happened. I don't know. Looking back, I know that I was in my master's program at Lesley College, and I used to talk about how, as a classroom teacher, I wanted to do a lot of movement in the classroom. And I used to bring up yoga a lot. And I used to say, I think maybe working on yoga or having the kids behind the chairs or using the chairs, and you could do poses and they need movement. And one of my friends in the class commented, she's like, I didn't really know you did yoga that much. And you're very much into talking about teaching yoga. And she's like, I noticed you don't really talk about being a classroom teacher. So ironically, over the years, like when I look back at my path, I didn't ever become a classroom teacher. So just kind of like felt
Well, you
like
did preschool.
I did do preschool. That's where I started. And I tried to implement some of that into the preschool class.
What do you think? What's been kind of the biggest pushback that you've gotten from like just even like colleagues or parents? What is there any kind of pushback from anybody? I'm curious about that because we all know that change for people can be really challenging. And here you are, you've brought this amazing program in, and we all know the benefits of this, right? But I feel like sometimes other people don't really understand. So what were some of like the hurdles that you guys have noticed over your years with doing this? Like were people really receptive? Did they just ask questions because they didn't know what it was?
Right. I think initially when I started, a lot of people didn't know really much about the class and what was happening, parents. And also sometimes parents would also question, it didn't happen much, but is this a religious class? So, and what exactly is happening in the class? And when we have an open house at the school, I always invite parents and the students, they come in and the kids try and show their parents what we do, like how we sit, how we do mindful listening, what's like the breath. Oh, we know this yoga pose. And over the years, I feel like initially it's changed from the beginning to now it's much more accepted and
Mhm.
people are aware of it. And people most often say, I wish I had a class similar to that when I was young. Right. To learn about my feelings. But one thing I do try and teach kids in kindergarten, especially, is what is each feeling? What does that feel like in your body? How do you know what someone's feeling? Like the feeling is coming out, and we want them to understand and name it. And so it's evolved in that sense because I think there was pushback, meaning people didn't really know what it was. Like, what is this lady really teaching our kids, or are they getting anything out of it? Whereas today, I think there's a big difference where a lot of parents are really into yoga and mindfulness themselves, or mental health, or taking care of themselves. And that's one of the biggest comments I hear. And I think you've heard people say that to us, like, we just didn't have something like this when we were younger.
I've always found it really fascinating because I've been practicing yoga for probably close to 20 years now. And I remember at one point somebody asking me, like, are you in like a cult or something? Like, what are you like? What are
Right.
you doing? Like, did you change your religion? Are you a different religion now? So I think a lot of those questions do come up.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think part of it is just, again, like you've done, is educating people on really what you're doing and inviting them to kind of see, what this is all about. Um, so I think that that's been absolutely amazing that you've been able to like offer this to everyone and then show them and teach them a little bit more. And we are seeing that evolution, right? So now people are much more open to hearing about mindfulness and meditation and self-regulation and dealing with emotions. And like, I feel like that's a much more like common everyday
Right.
discussion for so many people. So I think that, the work that you're doing, like I said, I love it.
Thank you. No, it has. It's been a long journey to get to where we are now, or where I am with the families and this. Like, our students think every school has mindfulness. Like, they just think that's part of your schooling. So, and it's not like everyone. Sometimes it's hard to win over the boys. sometimes students, right? But they really, I think because I integrate so much hands-on learning too, and I really try and instill from kindergarten, even when I was with the older students, class is really about you. This is a class about you. You're learning about yourself. So that's a great thing in itself.
Ava, when did you start actually practicing yoga?
Probably in high school because my mom
Oh,
taught the yoga class at my high school, and you had to do a sport every semester after school. We didn't have gym. I went to a boarding school. So you had to do an after school like program, and I didn't really do sports. I did dance, but that was only in the fall and spring. So the winter I did her yoga class.
I think that's awesome.
yeah, they
I mean,
invite
you
to
think
do
about
it.
it, like
Yeah,
you want to share these things with your kids, right? Like you want them to be able to like see and understand a little bit more about like what we're doing as the parent, but also like we know how good it feels. And so to have that be available to somebody and have them be able to grow and learn because of it. Like I think like that's one of the things I hope for my kids is maybe they don't do yoga. Fine. Like, I'm okay with that. That's all right if it's something else. But I think that that's what I want them to see, something that is, positive for me, and that is something that is about, self-care and, developing myself as much as I possibly can, and taking that time to kind of step back in the chaos of all of our lives every day. And maybe it's not yoga for them, but maybe it's something else that they enjoy doing. And I think, understanding that it could be a number of different things, but taking that time to step back and be quiet and be more present and paying attention to your body. I'm a physical therapist, and part of it is like, teaching people like be present in your body. How does your body feel? Think about like what's happening. Like, are you sensing this? Are you feeling this? How is it making you feel? Um, we just see so much more of a connection for people, and that mind body connection, I think, creates a much better understanding of their like healing and recovery.
mm-hmm.
And so I think like for kids to understand more about how do these emotions feel? And then how does my body feel as I'm doing this? And then how can I find space for being comfortable and for finding quiet when I need it? Um, and then I think the other part that I've seen yoga do is it kind of pushes us out of our comfort zone sometimes. So, maybe you do have these young kids who are like, I don't want to do that. And then they try it and they're like, okay, this is actually really, really interesting. Or, I didn't think I could feel that way doing this. Or I didn't think that that was as hard as I thought it was. I know my boys all the time are like, oh, that's easy.
I think
Right.
boys and guys in general think of yoga like guys lift weights and dumbbells is like, very cliche, right? But like they think of yoga, where's the weights? What's going to happen? And but then they try like Warrior 3 and they're like, this is harder than it looks.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, I think, if we go back, and I've talked a lot about this with various, groups in the past, is that, if you look at where yoga came from, yoga didn't start off as a practice for, girls or women. Like yoga was something that was practiced by men, and women actually weren't a part of it.
Right.
And yoga started as just, a seated meditation, and then they started to evolve and start to involve movement into the practice. And could you stay in that meditative state as you're moving? And I think as we're going through our days, there's nothing better that you can give to a child or a person than to have strategies and techniques to get through those difficult or tough times that they experience throughout the day, and still be able to stay in like in your person, and not lose who you are, and then not have that like loss of emotion. Like I think there's just a lot of that regulation that can happen.
Mm-hmm. And I think what I noticed with when she was referring to in high school, the group that I did for them, and I did it for I think a few years. What I noticed with the students is there's all different types of people, all different abilities. There were athletes, there were people that did not play sports, right? And it was and the one thing that I thought was interesting with all the ages that I worked with, even high school, is they would even say to me, "What about like a fun Friday? Can we do a mindful walk? Can we?" And we ended up painting rocks, which became part of their whole graduation um, ceremony. And we started doing essential oils and what smells do we like and what are they used for, and oh, can we do mindful coloring?
And that's ordered from the cafe.
So it became like that even though they were in high school, you would I guess in my mind initially I didn't think of such hands-on learning, but that's what they loved. Like they were like, what are we going to do this week in yoga? We would do some of our classes, and then on a Friday we would make it a fun event, and so we would try out different things, but they loved it too. Like just like the younger kids liked it, they also were really into like doing hands-on things and incorporating it into their life. So the essential oils was a big hit, and rock painting, and then we put positive words and we put them all around the school, and it became a big thing that particular year. So it was kind of neat to see. So
That's
cool.
awesome.
I have a question. Both Lisa and Ava, like we all know, like life has gotten a little hard and challenging to juggle many things going on, and it feels like there's less time sometimes. Like, what if you can't do yoga, but you need to maybe reset or be mindful, ground yourself? What do you guys find, or do you have something that you find is useful if you can't get to yoga for yourselves?
I personally like to go on my treadmill downstairs or like my other equipment, or even go for a walk. Or I know you go for a walk a lot, but I just like doing something then that makes me feel fulfilled or like better about myself when I have some movement. So if I can't go there, but just doing something for myself, a little self-care.
We have the Peloton, so we have the app, and they have like 5-minute meditation or a 20-minute core exercise. Like they have short stuff. So I like going on that a lot when I don't have a lot of time to do things.
So if we can maybe, I'm curious to talk a little bit more specifically about um, when two mindful girls came together. Like, where did the name come from? I know you two are mindful girls. Was it literally that, or was there a story behind it?
It was kind of, we were joking around all different names, and we kept saying there's the two of us, and we were trying to do mindfulness. And yes, it was something
Like, how
that,
about two mindful girls?
yeah, we were like, well,
Yeah.
we'll just be together. The two of us, we're always together. So yeah, that's how it came to be, really. And then,
You'll go ahead.
oh, and I think at the time, we just had an opportunity where someone had some space, and I looked at it, and we were thinking, would you think about having some kids classes? And so we kind of just tried it as like a pilot, I guess, ourselves, because we thought about a lot of parents and families had said to us how they their children really liked the class, and it was great that we had it in the schools.
Right.
But we were thinking about and looked around, there's just not a lot of studios or space that just focus on children's yoga. So we thought maybe, we didn't know if it would be something that would take off or not. And it's a really work in progress over the years, because some people know about us, some don't. But we just thought, well, maybe we would try it and just offer different types of classes or camps when we can, because we're both full-time teachers. So we can't do it all the time, and we don't have any, it's just the two of us that do all our classes right now. So that's how we started out, kind of had the opportunity where we saw the space. Someone was working, it's right now we're in the building, the Worcester Center for Mindfulness, and they're renovating that building. And they really wanted it to be focused on like health and wellness. And so we thought, well, this might be a good fit.
Yeah.
So that's how we started off.
Okay.
There's a ton of like mommy and me classes that I hear about like in various places, but I remember after I had my first, I looked and there were a couple of like mommy and me classes then. Like you could bring your baby, but only until they were like a certain age. And I think it was like until they became mobile.
Right.
Like you could go into a class and like set your baby down, but then if they were mobile at all, it's like nope, like it's all done. So I know that there have been some classes, but you guys are actually the only studio that I know of that offers classes for kids and like on a consistent basis. I know some studios will do like, the kids can come in for a class, but it's more sporadic.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know really of anywhere that has like a class that, as an adult, like as a parent, like I could bring any of my children with me, and they range from 4 to almost 13. So it's kind of a big range, but
Right.
and I know some studios, they just don't want kids like under a certain age in the studio. So, it kind of limits, like as a parent, like where could I have my child actually get some exposure if they do enjoy it? We'll put on yoga with Elsa on YouTube.
Right.
They have all of those types
Oh,
of
yeah.
things. But I think we all probably can agree that an in-person class just has a very different sense of community than not being physically present in a room. And I 100% believe that like if you can't be in a room with other people, that the next best thing is still to be able to practice wherever you are. And we saw that just blossom, especially during COVID, is that more and more classes were available for people, even if
Right.
they had to do it virtually. So like I've been like looking at the studio and like when you guys have classes, and I'm like, I've got to get my kiddos to like go try this out. I'm like, this is great. Because I think that it's something that when they hear like, oh, mommy's going to yoga or mom's going to go do yoga, and if I don't do it at home with them, then they're not a part of it. So, could we have them find their way to be more a part of it? And so I think that what you guys are doing is just absolutely awesome.
Yeah, and we've been trying to, we haven't had classes like, obviously it's hard during the day for us right now. So ours are either evening or weekend. And then in the summer, we tend to do more, or we do a lot of farmers markets or pop ups, or people invite us for collaborations. But we also have been trying to do some events where we have either the spa yoga upstairs, there's an upstairs room for adults, and we do the same time and a similar event downstairs. So spa yoga for the students, or we have a sound bowl healing. We're trying, this is new for us, upstairs, and I'm going to introduce the children to different instruments that I have and use sound and see which sounds that they like and with music, and then we'll make a craft with it. So I notice when the kids come to events like that, they're like, oh, mom or whoever's in the family is upstairs doing yoga and I'm coming to my yoga class. And it's kind of cute. Like they get excited, or, they know that their family or someone else is doing something too for themselves. So
Yeah.
we're trying out different things, different collaborations and different events. We do different themes. We sometimes we've been doing some preschool work with with Michelle from Zumbini. So we've been combining yoga, and then she comes in and does the music part. And then we end with a craft. And that's been really cute and it's successful. So we're just trying out different things. And we've been working with some different groups for adaptive yoga too, for older kids, older students. So we've been working with them, and we have a small group that's been coming. So that's nice too.
I I was on your website and I noticed you had a place where there was a couple downloads available, and I thought they were interesting. And so, could one of you guys tell us about what is Talk About the Hot Chocolate Breathing?
Oh, yes. We actually have in our mind and a lot of downloads that I don't think we've made them on there yet. So
we have a bunch. I just haven't uploaded them. I've been slow with that, but some things we've created or she's used in her classroom that we've been trying to put up as free downloads to try at home. And then we also have some stuff in the shop that are like $5 or less that are like download yoga coloring books or breathing coloring books or pages. But the hot chocolate breath is one that we do around the winter time. And I know you do it like, I think you glue marshmallows, like fake marshmallows to it and make it a whole thing. But you can just hold your hands in front of you and you like breathe in and smell the hot chocolate and breathe out and blow it out. So the coloring pages are like a visual that we have for kids to show the parents, especially because unless they do it themselves, a lot of them don't know what it is. So it's a nice thing to have, and they like coloring it and having something, but you use it as your journal in school. So we try and put some stuff up on the website for free, but I've been behind on that. There's a lot to put up.
There's a lot. We do all different sorts of, so like I might do cotton balls on that one, and they color their hot chocolate. And so we might have flower breath, and I have a flower visual, or butterfly breathing. I've been teaching the kids where they interlace their hands under their chin and they breathe in and their elbows come up and their elbows come down.
The wings.
And we do some breathing like that. And so at our school, we actually start off the morning with a breath. So a lot of the breaths that I teach in the class, I choose one each morning, or the students will come in and tell me, I think you should do high five breathing, or we put our hand up and they trace their hand and we take a breath as they're tracing. So then I make a visual of it, and they design their hand with colors, stickers I bring out, and then they can bring that home. And for our adaptive classes in the schools as well, we've been trying to make journal pages and all the breaths so that we could give that to their families or invite their families in, so that when they're at home, they could incorporate or use one of them. So they're familiar with the material.
I have a question.
Yes.
Do you give kids homework?
No.
I was going to say, like, you should give them homework. Like, go home and practice your hot chocolate breathing, or you know what I mean? Like,
record it on your cell phone and then show me later.
Oh, well, I was going to say, and that's something that, especially the younger kids, I know, my son, he's in 5th grade this year, but last year it's like they had to write down in their agenda book, like what they had to do for homework. And then the parents had to sign off, like, yeah, they did their homework. So you could use that as a strategy to not only get the kids to do it, but also like how the parents have to be engaged. They have to understand. And hey, listen, if a parent can learn hot chocolate breathing from their child, I think that's a win.
Right. I mean, a lot of parents nowadays expected to be able to do the new math.
Right.
They can breathe.
Right? And breathe. Breathing's easier.
Yeah.
Well, when I do teach mindfulness of the senses, and we go through and I bring in like essential oils, and they're hidden in the cups for mindful smells. So they're all taped up, and then we go around and we guess the smells. And I do one for touch, and there's a bag and there's mystery things, and we take them out. We notice how things feel, if they're hot or cold or smooth. And I do mindful eating. And that's by far my most popular class. And that's the class a lot of them say they go home and they try and show their parents how we ate so slow, and we like looked at the food and we smelled it, and it's usually a fruit. It's something approved by the nurse because of allergies. Right, so I'm limited to what I can bring in, but they all get excited no matter what it is. And so we do it very slow, and we put it near our ear, which they can't, my food's not going to talk to me, and they smell it and they touch it, and we put it near our lips. And so it takes a few minutes to do all this. And then they usually do tell me they've gone home to try that.
So
But
you're brilliant because now you don't have to actually give homework. They're giving themselves homework.
Right?
This is great.
so, I think when I first started, it was hard for me to have feedback or really know what they were learning or taking home. But over the years, especially now, parents will email me, or when they see me in person, they tell me, oh, my son or daughter came home and I saw them doing this, or they were telling me about that. Or so it's nice to hear, because sometimes I'm not sure what people are getting out of it, because I'm not there. But so I think a few times, and I think Ava remembers this, one of my students had to go to the emergency room and had stitches. And the mom had sent me a message saying the doctor wanted to know how the child knew how to take bunny breaths and deep breaths while they were getting
Oh,
stitches. And then we had another parent tell us that their daughter was at an appointment, and the doctor was saying, how did they know so much about the brain? Saying, like, my amygdala is going off. I'm nervous about my appointment.
Confusing the doctors.
So the doctor was like, wow, like they really, are learning this. So it's good feedback to hear.
It's great.
That it's helping, or some of the. So, I mean, we start off different. So in the early years, and as it gets older, obviously a fifth grader understands it more than the kindergarten. And I do a lot with puppets, and puppets represent parts of the brain. And then we learn about each part. And our guard dog keeps us safe. And so I have the dog puppet comes out. And the wise owl is our prefrontal cortex, and the owl comes out. And then we play games. I play a lot of games with them and put the animals in different parts of the room. And I make a statement, and they need to walk to which part of the brain is activated. So I'll know. So instead of like hands up, I try and do a lot of movement for answering me. So.
can you guys share, and either of you, so Ava or Lisa, what is one of your most memorable like transformations from like the beginning of the year towards maybe like the end of the school year for like any of the kiddos that you've worked with? Like, can you guys share with us maybe like one story that seems to like really stand out about just how this has had such a positive impact on one of these kids?
Is there anyone that comes to mind for you?
I don't do it as much. I'm doing.
I mean, think yours. Go ahead.
Oh no, I guess over the years there's been different students that I don't know how I say it.
I was going to say, and also I know Ava, you were saying like you don't really necessarily do that, but like even like you say you have a child start as part of like one of the yoga classes, and they've gone to like a good amount of yoga classes, maybe like it's 10 or 15 or 20 classes. Like, what would you guys say like in that frame of mind? Maybe not necessarily it's like in the school system, but how you've seen kids positively impacted by having this available to them, like what you guys are doing, having this available to them. Does that fit better?
Yes. Well, there's one little girl that I was thinking about that has come to mind, that she's come to a lot of our classes, and she knows how to do a sun salutation without me. She could lead that as it goes. Like she's someone that she knows a lot of the poses. She knows the breaths. Her mom will always say she does this at home. And at one of the classes, she said to me, when I get older, I want to be a yoga teacher. That's what I want to
cool.
do.
That's a nice compliment.
Yeah.
And she's a very sweet girl. But she is just really embodies it. And to see her at first, she was very quiet and shy. And from where I see her now, I'm like, I don't think she really needs me. I think she could lead the class. She could lead the class. And then I was just thinking in my classroom, this just recently, I had gone over their journals. It was the time where I give them their journals, and they have a folder, and it's like every week they keep putting more and more pages, and then I staple it. And I also give them a little picture of them being my leader. So I always have someone that helps assist the class and starts off with mindful listening, and they ring the bell and they do the breathing with the Hoberman sphere. So I hadn't shown them this for weeks. Like, they have not seen this book. And I did say, okay, is there anyone that can tell me one journal page that's in this journal? Because we're talking about this starts in September. So that's a long time for kids to. And I was actually kind of blown away when they started saying, oh, we did our anchor spot, we did our mindful body, we did mindfulness of thoughts, we did mindful eating. Then they started saying the senses once someone said eating. But I was like, wow, like, they know this. Like, I was impressed. Sometimes, because that's a long time for them to think something that was far away, like that they did. When then they see their pictures and everything, and they said, wow, was I younger when I did this? And I said, no, that was just the beginning of the year. Now you're older and you're more mature, and you know how to do more details. And so I don't know. I just thought that was really nice for me to see, of all the things. And some of them said, oh, I like the body scan. Remember, we'd lie down and we'd listen to something, and I could tell, like, if my feet were hot or what I felt in my body. So I thought that was nice.
That's really good feedback. I think it just kind of shows, though, also, like you're just hearing how you've kind of planned, like, your time with the kids and how detailed you are. You put so much thought into what you're doing and the meaning and the intention behind it. Like, these seeds, like, are just sprouting, and you've those seeds have been, like, they've just been planted.
I had a young woman in my yoga teacher training, and she actually had been introduced to yoga by her mom and had started practicing, I think, when she was maybe like 11 or 12 years old, and had a very consistent practice. She was very knowledgeable. There was a lot that she went into the teacher training she already knew or had experienced in some way, just from watching her mother have this yoga practice. And it helped her kind of find and figure out, what she wanted to do. And she became a teacher. She's in the school system, but she also, like, the transition that she had to teaching was just, like, so smooth. I kind of, like, stepped back because I had been practicing for a long time, and I was just, like, in awe of her. And I was like, this is, like, really cool. And I was like, imagine if more people did this with their kids, and, like, they had that introduction that much sooner. It's, as a child, there's so much that we get exposed to, but there's also a lot of stuff that we don't get exposed to.
Right.
And I think that having them begin to learn some of these fundamentals and just some of the foundation, and what that's going to allow them to do as they are going through the challenging times. So I have preteens, and I'll tell you, I remember being a preteen and, like, getting through that stage. And now I have preteens, and I'm waiting to get through that stage. But having them have just some of this information and hopefully helping to give them some coping strategies, right? Like, there's so much happening in the world today. So to give them all these different strategies and the things that you guys are doing, I think it's setting them up for something that hopefully is going to allow them just a little bit of an easier transition through all these phases of life.
Right.
Right.
Because I think what's happened over the last several years, like, children learn differently. Like, technology is a big part of their life. And at a young age, when they're introduced, it changes the way the brain works. So I think we're learning to teach in different ways than we did years ago. And so with technology or gaming, students they want instant, like videos
Right.
are fast or instant
Yeah.
gratification, or so it's a learning process. So I often try different programs and try out different things just to see with the students, what works and what doesn't. And if I was them and I was sitting in class, what would I want to be learning, or how would I want to, you have to teach it like, would you want to be sitting in that class? Like, that's how I think when I plan the classes
Oh,
to
I
make.
I hear students all the time who come in for their physical therapy and they're like, "Oh yeah, my teacher gave me, this test." And I'm like, "Really? Right before like a holiday weekend or like right after holiday weekend? Like, I wouldn't do that." Like, no way. And it's so funny. It's like, you think about that, like, would I want to be doing this? And like, what would I want to be doing? And I have that same thought, like, all right, I'm giving this exercise to a patient to take home. Would I really want to be doing that? Like,
Right,
you
right,
think about
simple.
stuff in that way. But I think that, that's something that having that just general awareness about how does this fit and how does this land and like what impact is this going to have? Um, just having that like conscious awareness because they will learn that too.
Right,
I think kids are so smart, they pick up on those things. Um, so having it feel like very engaging for them and then understanding a little bit more about like the why and the how and all of those aspects that I think that helps to give them just a different take on things. Um, yeah, I don't
right.
know if that made sense.
No, it does. It does.
Um, I wanted to transition over to Ava. So Ava, like you've written a couple children's books, right? And you have another one coming, is that right?
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit, like, how did you know you were going to write a children's book?
Well, when we first started the Two Mindful Girls, we didn't have the space that we do now. We
Hmm.
kind of just started it, and our neighbor at the time did um like website building, and he built the website and helped us do it. And no one was going out because it was COVID, and people were putting up a lot of downloads online and stuff to buy and create things like that. And so he made us a lot of the coloring pages that I was telling you about, um, and the journals, and there's a bunch on our website. But one day I was making like I wanted to do like a mindfulness toolkit for him to kind of make a workbook for, but then it was like a story. And I did it. And he was like, why wouldn't you just make this a book? He said, like, I could draw images, but he's not really a book artist. He does like, he's an artist, but it's like, what would you call it? Like media images, stuff like
Right.
that. It's not like a detailed kids book. And he was
Gotcha.
like, I would just make this a book. And there's a woman that I had followed just because a lot of people that do kids yoga follow each other, and she's in Florida, and she has written a kids yoga book, and she helps people like edit and publish their kids book. So I had contacted her, and we had kind of known each other through the person who did um my 95-hour training, the owner of that school. So we had kind of known each other, and she helped me edit it, and she helped me find the illustrators. They're actually in Connecticut, so really close. Um, and we published the first book. And then people asked if I was going to do a second one. So the first one was about mindfulness strategies for kids. So there's 6 strategies in the book, and we made a coloring book to go with it that you could download, and the guy that did our website did make that part. But my old principal always would say like growth mindset at the beginning of the year. That was his big push, and that's in one of the castle wheel. That's like the social emotional learning standards. the first part of that wheel is self-awareness, and a big part of that is growth mindset. So I did the second book based on that, and I thought, oh, maybe I could have a book for each competency in the wheel, because I already had the self-management one. And I started going into preschools to read it because people don't really know about it to just buy it on Amazon. Like, that's not really my goal isn't just to sell it, but people aren't finding it on Amazon really. People find it when I go in person and do things like events, or to schools and do readings, or the farmers markets, things like that, or through word of mouth, and I'll sign them and deliver them. But I was at a preschool doing a reading, and the lady said, like, why don't you make a kids yoga pose book? Because we've gone into that preschool to do classes too, and we'll bring in, like, there's a million of them. There's a cookie yoga book, there's a dinosaur yoga book, a unicorn, and we read them. And she was like, why don't you read your own? So that's what the third one is. It's like a yoga pose story, and it's all rhyming. It's made for more younger kids, but I'm sure people that come to our yoga studio or know us will want to read it too. But it's geared towards the younger age, and hopefully I'll be able to go in a lot of preschools and get the word out that way.
So
That is-
one of the things, did you have something, Julia? I just have to say, so like, Lisa, when I found out about you guys, I kind of got excited because, like, you don't hear about this mindfulness stuff in the schools, not in a lot of places. And so I was excited about having you guys on also because this is a way that hopefully another parent may be listening to this episode. And if maybe they don't have mindfulness in their school systems, maybe they might think, well, maybe we should. And how do we go about that? And so maybe just with people hearing the episode about our conversation about your mission will kind of help
Spread.
help things spread. Yeah.
Right. Because there's also, after school yoga clubs, or that's something else that people have reached out to us to go to other schools, like after school programs. It's just more logistically of me getting there, or us, having someone that works with us to help. But that's a great way too, is in the schools or after school programs. And so we exist, but we're not sure, we're trying to spread the news and let people know we're here. So yeah, we think that's a great way of just getting it out there, getting information so people know. It's an alternative. I know a lot of, we find a lot of people, a lot of kids, and growing up, it was always dance or soccer, gymnastics, or, there's so many different things. So this is a little bit different, but there are also a lot of children and students out there that aren't into that, and they like something more quiet or calm, although it's not always that. But we move a lot and we dance a lot. So that's one mistake, one notion like that. I think people think that when they come to my class, especially in schools, that we're just all sitting there and quiet. That might just be the first few minutes for us to settle in, but that's not really what it's about. So we try and have fun. We build themes that, would be intriguing or interesting to children to learn, to help them learn. So,
where would you like to find two mindful girls to go? Like, how would you like to see that evolve?
I said that I wanted to do it full time, but I don't think I could make a livable salary right now to do that full time.
She did
But
say that.
I always say that I would just do it full time, because we have people that want us, and I could probably find more, but like squeezing people in after school, and now we have the dog. But usually I'm running to a different place every day, like right after school, barely making it to teach the class. Or people want me to do more than one, but it's tiring after a full day of working another job. But people really are in demand for it in the Boston area. So I don't know if that would look like going into places all day, every day, or having a place, but it's just so expensive to be out there. to have a physical space. And the parking scene is not good, and the driving scene's not good. It takes an hour to get anywhere in Boston from Boston. So I don't know where, but out there we have a lot of clients.
And I think there's a lot more people doing what we're doing too now that are like in different areas and out in the Boston area, all different. It's like not like years ago, there really weren't any, but now there's a lot. So I think it's, and there's a lot of family yoga too, and lots of, having connection with the families. And that's a big thing too.
Yeah.
So we'd like it to, spread a little bit, or maybe make it our full-time job. But I don't think right now we can do that.
If people want to, go ahead.
I was going to say, I would think like part of the challenges is like kids aren't available all day, right?
Right.
Right. I know adults that they can squeeze out, and on their lunch break, they're going to a yoga class, or, they're working from home and they can just take a little longer break, like midday. So I think it's a little bit different with the kiddos because they only have so many hours a day that they're actually available to do things. But I mean, it's something like even talking to school systems, like would they want to do a field trip? Would they want to do a field trip to the studio? Could you have them do something that way where, again, like in the future, that could be a strategy.
Right.
When you aren't working full time all day, but, having them come in for field trips and just being exposed to different things. I know other school systems that I know have done that for they go to a dance class. I know somebody who teaches Spanish, and she took her kids to learn how to do salsa for a field trip. So, so you might find something like that. I know with different schools, like if you guys have vacation week, maybe they could come in on a vacation week where you're on vacation, not that you want to necessarily work more, but I mean, I think that I would love to see that. I was happy that Leo asked that question because I was going to ask the same thing. Like, where do you guys want it to go? Like, what do you see it becoming? I think that would be incredible because it sounds like it's just such a good fit for you guys.
And we've had Girl Scout troops find us and
start.
Yeah. And we've had people reach out about the Mom and Me or smaller kids, or during the week.
Well, a lot of preschools, we're going to a preschool almost every day in July, but we could probably find even more and fill the day that way. But we always tell them we can't come during the year.
Yeah.
So we do it all in the summer. So we could probably go to preschools or do baby classes for people that stay home during the day, but it's just finding the people to work with, because at least if you're going into somewhere, you don't have to find the kids because they're already there.
Right.
Right.
We're going to have to talk more.
Yeah. There's conversations that are going to happen after this.
Oh, yeah.
So going into summer and the fall, the rest of the year, what are the classes that you're offering at your space that people can look for if they want to connect with you? What are these classes that are going to be available going into the summer and for the rest of the year?
Well, I don't know.
Right now we have up a school is out camp. It's one of our Friday night camps for kids 5 to 12. And they do yoga, art projects, games, and they have snack. That's their favorite part. That's happening in June. And then we have at the end of June, the mini camp. It's the sound bowls for the kids and the craft and yoga. And then upstairs, there's an adult class at the same time. So those are both happening in June at the Worcester studio. And we're working to put stuff up in July because we had just been figuring out our Boston schedule, because we do a lot of preschools out there. We're going into a lot of schools in Cambridge and the Somerville area. And we're doing 4 free family yoga classes with the Rose Kennedy Greenway. They have partnered with us. So those are happening on Wednesdays and Saturdays in June and July. But probably next week, we're going to put up all the July pop-up classes because we don't really do consistent classes in the summer because people aren't around. So we tend to do pop-ups.
Right. So we'll be also heading to the Millbury Farmers Market and doing some classes there in the Rosendale Farmers Market. So people reach out to us to different events. So we're trying to schedule everything around it and then start putting up the Worcester location. So
is the best way for people to like find out about your schedule and reach you guys like from the website and email you guys directly?
yes.
Yeah, and we have a newsletter that you can subscribe to on our website. And I usually at the beginning of each month send a huge letter with everything happening in Worcester and Boston and wherever we are. It gets confusing sometimes because we go so many places, but I think we've gotten better at putting where things are. But yeah, we're doing a lot in different places, but it may not seem that way on the website because we don't post on the website like we're going to so-and-so preschool for 3 hours. But like each day in July, like preschools have booked us for 2 to 3 hours, and driving there and back takes the day. So that's why it might not look like there's as much, but we are going places each day.
Julia, before we wrap up, is there anything else that you want to ask or say?
Yeah. Do you find that it's parents are the ones who are kind of bringing the kids in for the studio? Do you ever have kids that are just like, I want to do yoga, and their parents end up finding your studio? Or do you find that it's a lot of time parents that are the ones who are like, I want to introduce my child?
I think it's actually both. A lot of times parents will say their child does yoga at home a lot with videos, or in even preschools. We're finding more and more of them do have a yoga teacher go in. We go in the summer, but some of them have them coming in just like they do with someone coming in doing music with the kids.
Yeah.
And they just say, oh, they really love it. And we're trying to find a place to bring them. And then other times parents might contact us saying, oh, we're really hoping for our child to learn more like coping strategies or something that can help with like anxiety. And they might be hesitant to come in, especially if they're older, like the tween teenagers. I had one student and she was very nervous about coming. And by the end, she like really loved it. Like she kept saying, what are we doing next week? Once that initial fear and you don't know what it is, the unknown. So it's both really. So
I think that's great. You think that it was more parents who are like looking up like, oh, what do I do with my kid? And like, I'll get them into this activity. So I think it's great that it's a combination of both. I think that we're seeing hopefully a little bit more of that these days. I love that the kids are interested.
Yeah, like sometimes it's like our child loves, we do the Wicked Camp. And they're like, oh, my child loves that theme. When I saw this, I knew that they would love to come. Or we do all different types of things. Harry Potter, Squishmallows, like you name. We've tried to create it or implement it somehow into themes that are fun and engaging, where it also still has the breath. It has all the poses. Or Ava designs a lot of our poses to go with themes. And then the craft goes with it. So like usually back to school, we try and do some type of back to school box or a tool that the kids can make to help with like easing back into school. So yeah, so sometimes it's just that they happen to see that theme when we did that Taylor Swift, the Eras tour, when we did that initially, that was a big one. People just were like, oh, I saw that and that looks fun, like yoga and that and what you're creating. So that's part of it too, to do something a little bit different than the usual camps and classes.
So if you can tell our listeners, because I think this is a great kind of way for you to promote things, what would you say would be your, like, I don't know, tagline or your kind of draw into, like, why should they come try this? Like, why should they do it? Like, give everybody what like their reason why.
Well, I think our tagline is breathe, move, create. And we really just want to but the creativity part is really inspire students and children to use their creative senses and be free to do that, express themselves. And that it's really a safe space and everyone is welcome. And we really just want to, I think, spread a little kindness to everyone and really introduce like mindfulness concepts and yoga to students at a young age, because the thought is maybe if they learn it at such a young age, it would benefit them as they grow older. So I think that's a little bit why, especially my principal even started it, because his thought process was if you introduce it at such a young age, it can only help. So
I can't think of any negatives.
No, right.
I guess we really just want to
Yeah.
like nurture their, hearts and minds and make them aware of these type of tools and concepts. And I mean, another thing that I think that we'd like to evolve to is like even more nature-based creative mindfulness and doing outside. And again, it's like space and time of creating these things, but doing nature-inspired crafts. Like children love to be outside and they love like making things and creating things.
My wheels in my head are turning. I have so many ideas and thoughts. I'm
this
definitely
is going to probably be another conversation, Lisa and Ava.
Yeah.
Because Julia's business mind is running also.
Oh yeah.
Lisa, Ava, thank you for joining us tonight and just kind of allowing us to share you guys, Two Mindful Girls, with everyone.
Thank you for having us and finding us. So that's a pleasure, and we're so happy that you did.
Yeah. So we're going to sign off, guys. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to follow and subscribe. Bye.
Bye. Have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Mystery of the Soul. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. If you have a question, topic suggestion, or just want to say hi, we'd love to hear from you. You can visit our website at mysteryofthesoul.com. Reach us on Instagram, email us at mysteryofthesoulpodcast@gmail.com, and if you're interested in booking a session with Leo, visit his website at leojmccarthy.com.